Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to talk about my recent favorites. So I've read about 10 to 11 books from the past 3 months, and I'm going to cherry pick my favorites and gush about them so that you too pick up those books. So without any further ado, let's begin. So the first book I read was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and my 2021 was off to a fantastic start because this was my first ever science fiction book and it was absolutely amazing. It blew my mind away with its immaculate plot twist. The plot twist was so well delivered that first they had you shocked and then you were like, I was so dumb, I should have guessed this. These are the kind of plot twists that you really adore. It's the kind of plot twist we desire. It's not a randomly thrown in shock factor, but actually foreshadowed and delivered and executed to perfection. I really loved the way the story unfolded. To tell you something about its premise, it's about a scientist named Jason Dessen who suddenly wakes up in a parallel world after being kidnapped. He used to be a college professor with a wife and kids, but when he wakes up in this new world, he finds himself in a situation where he's a famous scientist and his family doesn't exist. He's confused and disoriented. He doesn't understand what he's doing in this world because he doesn't belong in this one. So as you can guess, this involves parallel dimension and kind of time traveling. You can say it's time traveling. I can't reveal much or else it'll become a spoiler because this was so fast paced and thrilling and kept me hooked to my chair till the last moment. Everything was so perfect in this book. If I had to talk about negatives, I'd say the characters were kind of flat. Blake Crouch was more intent upon creating a scientific atmosphere and making you just dive into the world of physics. That sounds boring, but it isn't. Trust me, it's very fast-paced and thrilling. It's also not too technical. Things don't go over your head. You're actually able to understand on what principle the events unfold in, and it's not too oversimplified or spoon-fed to you. So it's just like the perfect combination. We're able to understand what's happening, why it's happening, and yet be completely shocked by the twist. So this was a 5 on 5 book, and my first book was like so amazing, and I definitely recommend this. And if you want to see a full detailed review, the link to my blog is in the description. The next book I read was a completely different genre, and that was dystopian. So I know the dystopian phase is completely over and I'm so late to the party, but I couldn't resist myself when I read the blurb on the back of this book. I'll just read it out to you because it just completely draws you in and is so intriguing that I was forced to pick up this book. So, what if death was the only thing left to control? It is a perfect world, and the only way to die is to be cleaned by a professional scythe. When Citra and Rowan are chosen to be apprentices, they know they have no option but to learn the art of killing. However, the terrifying responsibility of choosing their victim is just the start. Corruption is the order of the day, and Citra and Rowan need to stick together to fight it. Then they are told that one of them will have to glean the other. So as you can see, so many things are happening simultaneously that it's just all so intriguing that you just want to pick up the book and see what it's about. Off to a really good start, we get introduced to this world where death literally doesn't exist. Humanity has reached the pinnacle of evolution. Now they can't die by any natural means. And so to control overpopulation, they devise up professional killers or scythes. And that gives you a really good moral look into what we consider to be immortality. Like, it gives a really good look on immortality. It gives a moral outlook on what our idea of utopia is. So, and it makes for a very interesting story, and the world building is immaculate. So the author really can make you believe that we have conquered that. It doesn't seem like an outlandish or silly idea, but it actually sounds real. It sounds so well developed that the world building just had me swooning over this book. And then you have the characters. They are very distinct characters, and I love multi-POV books, and so that was just another plus point. If I had to draw on a negative, it was very slowly placed at the start. So you're just dying to know more, but the author is just holding back from you. So that was one complaint I'd have this with book. Other than that, this was so good. So my third favorite from my recent reads was The Knife of Never Letting Go. Again, this is a trilogy, the Cause Walking trilogy. And again, we have this new world. It's fantasy. So in this new world, it's very interesting. So our main character Todd lives in this place called Prentice Town. Prentice Town is on an entirely different planet. We are not on Earth. And in Prentice Town, there are no girls, there are no women. All of them have apparently died out due to a virus. Women don't exist, and the town is about to die out because there are literally so little men left, and the alien species living on that earth have released a virus that killed the women and made the men open to each other's mind. They can literally read each other's thoughts, and that thoughts are known as noise because it's all jumbled up in their head. So as you can see, this is a very interesting premise to base a story on, and our protagonist is only 13 years old, and once he turns 14, he'll officially be a man. So you have this coming of age stories, and where our protagonist learns about maturity, about what being a man really means, about what growing up, about what taking responsibility means, and it's so well delivered without making it sound pretentious or how do I say, how someone is giving a lecture to you. It's presented where we can connect our own experiences of teenage years with it. It is truly such a relatable and mature coming of age story, and the plot twist are so amazingly good. The more and more it's revealed, the more and more you get awed. And the funny thing I noticed is the prose is so good. Like, you can literally understand Todd, like you can understand the protagonist because he's uneducated. You don't have schools in that town. So the author has deliberately used spelling mistakes, bad grammar to convey his point about his illiteracy, and it just makes everything so raw and real, because then our protagonist point of view is just so simple and yet so profound. By using such simple prose, the author is still able to convey what he wants to, and we are totally immersed in our protagonist experience. You feel like you are the protagonist. Our protagonist is just so interesting and diverse, and his growth as a character through the book is amazing, and I can't wait to start the next book because it ended on such a cliffhanger that I just can't wait to buy the next book and read the whole series. And I'll definitely recommend this. To sum up my thoughts, The Guardian says, I would press the Cause Walking trilogy urgently on anyone at all, and I would say the same. Literally, you want to recommend, please read this trilogy, at least the first book. It is so good, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. And now my absolute favorite. I saved it for the last because while for the other books I can understand if people didn't like it, if they had faults with it. Even I could find some negatives in those books, even though I loved them. But this one, it had no negatives. How much ever I racked my brain for some for something the people won't like in this book, I just came up with none. It is just so amazingly good. This is a fantasy novel, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I want you to pick this book up. You just let's go into this completely blind. It will blow your mind away. So let me start with the positives. I mean, I can use every adjective I have in my dictionary to describe this book because it was so amazingly good. So our protagonist's humor was on point. You just laughing at his sense of humor in these dark situations and his humor lightens the mood of the book, which is really dark throughout the story, because it seems like the author has taken an oath to make our protagonist suffer and only suffer. Literally, this could be renamed Fitz Goes Through a Lot of Tough Situations, because that's what the book keeps doing. It just keeps putting our protagonist in these difficult situations and makes him suffer so much that you just like, let our boy have some peace. And yet it is so good that Robin Hobb is able to write convincingly how he doesn't break under all these problems and still remains a hero and doesn't turn into a grey or evil character. And that is so hard to do, and I praise her for it. Again, the world building was so good. At first I was skeptical because you have this thing in the book where the royal family is named after virtues. So one of the characters is named Patience, one of them is named Verity, one of them is named Regal, one of them is named Chivalry. So you're like, that sounds silly, right? You won't believe how convincingly Robin Hobb broadened on this topic of what our name really means and how it impacts our life. And she used this method so convincingly that I was just drawn in. And again, her prose, out of all of the 4 books I read, her prose was so good. It was just so immersive that you felt like you were in the 6 Duchies, the fantasy world the book is based on. I have no negatives to say. All I want to say is please pick up this book. It was just so good. Everything was perfect. You'd think it'd be slow paced, but I just loved hanging out while doing nothing, getting to know the world better, getting to know our characters better. I love that kind of thing. But if you don't, that might be a con for you. You might find it slow. But if you love hanging out with characters, getting to know world building, and getting yourself immersed in daily activities, please pick this up. It literally is faultless for me. It was the best book I read in the year 2021 so far. And so to sign off, I'll just mention what I'm reading right now, and that's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I hope I pronounced it correct because it's a French name and I have no idea how to pronounce this name. But this is the book I'm reading right now. It's a domestic thriller, and I just can't believe how atmospheric this book is. Daphne's writing is just so good. I know I keep saying this about all books, but truly this book creates a vibe and atmosphere. It's so whimsical and escapist at its finest. Like, writing is usually something you just tell a story through, but her writing just creates so that was my recent favorites. And if you like me talking about books and want to hang out with us for a while, hit that subscribe button, like our video, and turn on the notifications to get notified when we post a new video. And thank you so much for watching till this, and also support my blog because it's also about books, and if you like books, it's about books.